So guys, welcome back to Opinion Spot, and um, with the Opinion Spot branches, we branched out. We did Q&A, but now I'll give you something called basically the kid's recommendation. The kid recommends, and this guy's is basically another version of Opinion Spot where basically I recommend stuff to you in terms of movies or video games and all kind of other medias that I know I love and I know that you love, and basically in terms of that I also have in my collection as well. And first off, we're going to start off with a movie actually that I recommend you put into your DVD collection. And as you can see right there, the movie is known as The Kiss of the Dragon. Very, very excellent movie that came out. How many years? It's been 9 years, but it is still an excellent movie nonetheless. Of course, this movie stars one of the great action heroes of our time, Jet Li, co-starring with the likes of Bridget Fonda and people like that. This movie is an adrenaline rush, basically. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but for all those who have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. The movie was directed by Chris Nohand. It was written by Jet Li himself. The movie was also made in response to Jet Li's fan requesting more realistic fight scenes, because once Mr. Li started broadcasting over to American films, many of his fight scenes were more CGI or wire work, so they kind of wanted to see what he can do without that. I knew he could do it, but some people wanted to see him without, and this movie showed that off. Most of the action sequence did not use CGI or wire work. Only two scenes did require CGI enhancements, and but other than that, it was just a complete adrenaline rush. The plot of the movie I'll get into a little bit more. Basically, is Jet Li is a Chinese intelligence agent that is sent basically and assigned to Paris to help apprehend a Chinese mob boss who's involved in heroin smuggling and things like that. So what he is presumably is to meet and get his okay with the lead inspector, played by our basically the bad guy of the film, Inspector Jean-Pierre Richard. Don't actually pronounce the actor who played his name. I know his first name is Teki, so I can't pronounce his last name. But all in all, we get to see our players being introduced in the first couple of scenes of the movie. What leads into basically a setup, basically, and now Jet is now on the run in an unknown city that he is unfamiliar with. He really has no contact with anybody except for a guy he calls his uncle that owns a restaurant. He basically is a part of the kind of like the movement. And it goes on one to another. He's trying to get evidence. He knows there's evidence to prove his innocence, so he's on a race to beat the clock. And then we enter our other character, supporting character, Bridget Fonda's character, who basically is in this movie. Her name is Jessica. Is basically she's a hooker. She's a hooker. Which also this movie also shows of that it is not always love and paradise in Paris. There are slums and ghettos and bad parts of the city, and we get to see that in the city where there's part of Paris that is nothing but it's just hooker central basically. And Bridget gets her character. You get more into her character through the movie as well when she starts explaining herself. She's an American and why she is doing what she does and everything like that. We find out more that she has a daughter, and she's also wrapped into the circumstance that Jet Li has got himself into. Great action scenes, guys. Great chemistry between Jet Li and Bridget Fonda. The fight scenes were very, very, you can see they were sequenced very nicely, very well done. One of my favorite fight scenes in the movie, which I will talk about, is they call it on the DVD Double Trouble because there are two characters in this movie that are supposedly twins, but they're not. One's bigger than the other, but they have the same color hair, blonde, crew cut, and Jet Li has to fight them. And in the fight scene, he's battling one big guy and he's battling the other smaller guy, and when the little guy hits him, he flies and the big guy comes in and hits him. But then he starts realizing, okay, which is the whole aspects of the martial arts, use your environment, where he starts to realize that this guy likes to kick a lot. So he uses the environment, the small space, because they're fighting like in a boxed area, basically a French police station. So they're fighting, and Jet is using his skill. Okay, so this guy likes to kick, so I'm gonna get into an area where I'm smaller than him, so I can kick, and he's using it. And when the guy tries to kick, he gets his leg caught in the desk or something, and Jet comes in with a couple of combinations of punches, and to the point where he makes this guy look like an idiot from sometimes, until basically in the end he finishes the guy off, and then the big guy comes out. He takes on the big guy, knowing that he can't go blow for blow with this guy. He wears him down like a tree trunk. He's cutting him down. And then the end sequence, which I'll talk about as well, is where where the name Kiss of the Dragon comes from. You notice throughout the whole movie that Jet wears this band that has like acupuncture needles on it that he uses through the movie, and we see that in the last sequence where he and the main antagonist talk, and then he stabs him with a needle, puts a needle in directly in a special point in the neck, and he talks to where basically he shows where the name the Kiss of the Dragon comes from. It's very funny because the scene the end scene is very, I wouldn't say funny, because even though me and my brother laugh at the last scene because the how he's trying to regain movement and stuff in his body, but it's really cool and pretty much accurate in some way. But I'm not gonna spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen the movie. I do recommend you put this in your DVD collection. If you're a fan of action, then you're gonna love this movie. If you're a fan of Jet Li, you're definitely gonna love it. Like I said, this movie came out in 2001, but it pretty much was pretty much pretty good. You know, it was very much entertaining, and that's what I will say about it. So if you don't have this in your DVD collection, I do, like I said, recommend you get it. You'll probably find it's really cheap. You know, But Kiss of the Dragon is probably another favorite Jet Li movie of mine that I love, especially being that in this movie he speaks all English. He's not dubbed. His voice is not dubbed like in many of his classic movies. Um, and this movie, if you are a fan of not less wire work, then you're gonna love this movie. Um, and that's all I want to talk about. So this was the first edition of the Kid Recommends, um, of the Opinion Spot. And other than that, guys, this is Mount Vernon Kid saying peace, one love, stay tuned. I'm out.